I would probably say, well, thank you very much for being here today for our second session for the Empowerment Series for Native American Families. We appreciate your attendance and your presence, as we mentioned it before. And we are super excited as far as the work that we're seeking to do, and this is a continuation of that. I know that it's going to be a longer process as far as how we navigate, especially during COVID-19, and one of the things that the district aspires to do. I would let Jessica, I think, first start off with the acknowledgement, and then we will start from then. I think that's probably be the best way to go.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Were you able to share that slide?
I will really quick. Let me just do this very quickly for you all. There you go, Jessica.
Awesome. So I want to give everyone a warm welcome and thank everyone for joining the second session for the Native Empowerment Series for Twin Rivers Unified School District Native American Families. And I'm going to do, my name is Jessica Hildebrand. Sorry about that. My name is Jessica Hildebrand. I'm a White Passing Cherokee member, proud Cherokee. And I am also the Ethnic Minority Director at Large for our local Teachers Association, TRUE, Twin Rivers United Educators. And so I'm going to be doing a condensed version of our land acknowledgement, similar to the one that we had at our first session in November. So together, let us acknowledge that this TRUSD Native American gathering is taking place throughout the unceded territory of California that is home to nearly 200 tribal nations. As we begin this meeting, we acknowledge and honor the original inhabitants of our various regions. Let's take a moment to honor these ancestral grounds that we are collectively gathered upon and support the resilience and strength that all Native people have shown statewide. Thank you.
With that, I believe we were going to introduce. So thank you very much, Jessica. As we mentioned before, I work within the Family Community Engagement team within Student Services, and I'm excited to be here. I see. How about we introduce ourselves, and then we can then continue on with some of the work that we would like to share with you all. So who would like to start?
Good evening. My name is Tiffany Hunt, and I work in Student Services as a counselor and the foster youth liaison.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Yes,
my name is Rudy Puente. I'm Director of Student Services, and I oversee the Student Services Department. And I'll hand it back over to Jessica.
I was just going to say thank you, Tiffany. And Tiffany, Heriberto, and Rudy, all four of us have been spearheading this effort. So anyways, thank you, Rudy. And Gary, did you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I know you probably remember me from the last time we got together. Gary Robinson, Choctaw Cherokee descent. I'm an author and a publisher, and gotten involved with multiple school districts around the state, working to introduce some curriculum materials that provide a history of California from a Native American perspective and some other things. So I'm happy to join you guys.
Thanks, Gary. Appreciate you being here. Who else? Would anyone else like to introduce themselves?
Sure, I'm Summer, an education coordinator at Shingle Springs Tribal TANF program, enrolled member of Caddo Nation, and also covering Yolo, Placer, and El Dorado counties, as well as Sacramento.
Awesome. Thank you, Summer. Thank you for being here on behalf of TANF.
And I see that Danielle to speak as well.
Oh,
So
perfect.
introduce herself next.
Thank you. My name is Danielle Allen. I'm the Outreach and Engagement Coordinator for the Sacramento Native American Health Center. I'm Pomo, Mountain Maidu, and Paiute from Susanville, and thank you for having me here tonight.
Thank you, Danielle, for joining us. Who else might like to introduce themselves?
I can go next.
Great.
My name's Sally Staransky. I'm the other education coordinator with Shingle Springs Tribal TANF. Me and Summer partner with a lot of the education resources in Sacramento, El Dorado, Placer, and Yolo County.
Thank you for joining us.
Hello, nice to see everybody again. I'm Mitch Quilon. I'm an educator and researcher, and I got some good news from our friend Gary over here with former district where I worked in San Diego, and so I'm eager to hear a bit more about that. But the curriculum that Gary's been working on was not only adopted by San Diego, but recently being implemented. So I'm really excited to hear about that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Maybe Gary can share a little bit with us about that effort.
Yep.
Thanks for being here, Mike. Is it Mike or Mitch? I'm sorry.
It's Mitch.
Mitch. Okay, thank you.
Micha Jade Quilon Gomez Victoria Mejia, but Mitch is easier.
Okay. Who else would like to introduce themselves?
Hello, my name is Mona. I'm the Associate Director of the Native American Resource Center at American River College, but I'm coming here as a community member today and also as my position, but just wanted to come and stop by and be of service however I may be of help. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate that.
Hi everyone, my name is Leticia Quilon. I am currently a 6th grade teacher at Madison Elementary.
Welcome, Leticia. All right. Anyone else? You're always welcome to put, if you want to introduce yourself in the chat too, you're welcome to do that. And if you want to include your tribal descent or affiliation, please, you're welcome to do that as well.
So transitioning to the purpose of this meeting, primarily the first meeting that we had back in about a month ago was as far as a community gathering and just a moment to introduce ourselves and what drives us in our work, and as far as finding out as far as the need in creating this empowerment series and American Indian or Native American education program for next year. So today we're going to be discussing primarily two parts. We sent out an online needs assessment to families to gauge as far as what were some of the responses or needs they will need as far as when it comes to educational and cultural needs. And then we will also discuss as far as sort of the timeline when it comes to creating this program with through the process of creating or submitting a grant. And obviously then we'll also have community partners discuss some of the work they're doing. And the reason why we invite our community partners is to sort of like flesh out and sort of think about how can we envision this program to be. And we want to mention the fact that, you know, at all steps along the way, we are seeking as far as input from all community members and from families, since, you know, your presence and your involvement is going to drive this work in supporting our district and how we envision this program to be. And so one of the things that I do want to share with that is that we sent out a survey, and let me just screen share that for you. So you have, I sent it out on the agenda, and I think, Tiffany, can you please resend the link, the agenda? Oh, I don't think, oh, sorry about that. I'll do that later. So what we see right here, these were some of the questions that hopefully all of you can see this. So we sent out the survey and had about 24 responses as of yesterday when I made this document. And what we broken down were some of the questions that families had when it came to support and services. Obviously, a lot of it has to tie into the focus on obviously with identity and And if we enrich and support our students with their identity, then they will create a self-esteem and be empowered as far as in the in their education and as far as their sense of being. And so some of the services and information that came up were some of these questions that you can see right here. We received a variety of responses from family members that were from the district. Primarily, they're focused on the development of an ethnic studies course or some sort of representation within our students in our school sites. And I already heard from Mitch Quilon as far as some of the work that he's doing in Madison, with at Madison, and some of the work they're doing with Gary Robinson, as for example. When it came to educational supports, they mentioned the need as far as tutoring. You saw that report that came out in SACB when they talked about students, suspension rates, and in some cases, the rates falling really high when it comes to Native American students. And so some of those questions that came up is how do we go as far as supporting students when it comes to engagement? So these were some of the feedback that came about as far as what educational supports are needed. Obviously, resources when it comes to teachers as far as teaching curriculum that is inclusive, which is something that came up in our conversations from our first empowerment series. The need as far as implicit bias or trainings that would, in this case, lessen or reduce suspensions or expulsions within students, for example. The need as far as assessing or supporting students who have special education needs, and what are the process for that. Obviously, the two, how do you go as far as being engaged and involved or being aware of what the school system looks like? What are some of the information that is going on when it comes to Aries online enrollment? Or how do you support students during this online learning phase? Those were some of the comments that were brought up. Now, this is the part right here that in some ways we're going to be talking about today, particular questions you have for the district. So some of them came about, does the district have funding when it comes to an Indian education program with Title VII grant? When is schools is expected to start again? What is the district doing when it comes to supporting Native students? When are we going to acknowledge Native American History Month? Why is this process, as far as what we're doing right now, is taking so long? What kind of services are offered? Who's in charge of this program? How do we feel as far as, how do you go as far as students being assessed or so these were some of the questions that came up. And in some ways, that goes into, what are some of the topics that families would like to know more about? So in that case, techniques and tools as far as how do you go and engage in students when it comes to being distracted, because obviously for some students, there's a challenge when it comes to online learning in the virtual space. Some students are kinesthetic, some students, just depending on how they process information, obviously can be a challenge. When it comes to how do you advocate for your students? How do you work with them as far as to ensure that they graduate, college or career readiness? How do you support students who might have trauma? What are some of the ways as far as, when it comes to abuse? Those were some things that came up during the questions or the topics that were asked. And if I scroll down, it kind of, part of that, brought in the idea of when it comes to creating a parent advisory committee, which is tied into, in this case, the grant application. And we received a strong interest from many of our families, some of whom are already working within other neighboring school districts. So that is really a plus. A lot of them shared a lot of the resources. For example, the Native American Student Center, which in this case, TONA works with. The Ensuring Native Indian Traditions, which is an active group, Sac State. When it comes to some of the information that you see, SNAC, and in this case, TANF were also ones that were brought up within the survey. And then some of the Native American education programs that are already existent, for example, Elk Grove and Sac City. And in some cases, some of the information that is also, that is being provided when it comes to curriculum development. So in this case, this is Smithsonian, the California Indian History Curriculum Coalition. In some ways, curriculum that helps as far as creating an inclusive space for all students, and also depending on the information that is being taught in our classrooms as well. And that kind of falls into the idea, obviously, of focusing on building cultural understanding in our students so they have a sense of who they are, and which is something that resonated often in many of the conversations that we had within the cultural piece or the information I'd like to know more about. When I scroll down below, I just want to acknowledge that these were some of the responses that were provided as far as tribal membership within our families that responded. And then if we scroll down, it was a variety of different grade levels, as you can see, ranging from preschool all the way to 12th grade. And especially, a lot of you saw that our children that are in elementary school and that formative phase, how do we go as far as supporting those students in ensuring that they're, excelling well, both academically and culturally, to ensure that, that within the next 4 to 6 years that they do well in school and then graduate on time as well. And then just below the last part is just some of the information of where they're, in this case, what schools they go to. So this survey was sent out. I just want to just briefly just share that information for you all, and I'll send it out as well. So let me stop screen sharing this. And I imagine for some of us, this is something that you probably already are familiar with and you already know because this is the work that you do, or these are questions that you have always asked. And we hope to, in some ways, answer some of those questions today that we might have. Were there any questions that came up as far as that you see from the document? And let me share that again. I think, and you've had that. So let me copy this so that way you have. There you go here. And I mentioned, we want to be transparent with this because obviously this is going to help us, as far as sharing how we want to create this program. And in some ways, for example, some of those, the families are looking for resources within the community, and they already are. And so they're working away. And in some cases for us that are not involved in or not aware of all of this work, obviously, we're learning along the way. And so just with that, I just want to share with that. And so I think I will let, in this case, should we go on to the presentation, Jessica and Tiffany, or will somebody like to comment on the survey, for example? Oh, so yes, so right now we've had 24 responses from the survey. We've hopefully, we've been sending out it via text and via email. Part of that is obviously, the work is as far as gathering more input with families will be essential because obviously that's going to help as far as when it comes to the grant proposal and some of the work that it involves around that. And so we will be pushing that and in some ways too, like building trust in our families to the purpose of another survey, which in some cases might be challenging, or families, have already completed some for distance learning, some of them for, when it comes to surveys that happen at their school sites. And so in some cases, there may be a fatigue when it comes to surveys, but obviously this is something that we are trying to work with and we appreciate the feedback as well. And for example, like as far as reaching out to as many families as possible too, so that we have information and to work on that. So, and we appreciate all the support that we can receive. Okay.
Thank you, Heriberto.
Okay.
That was a lot of information to percolate over, and I appreciate you sharing that. I wanted to mention really quick that there was maybe 1 or 2 people that joined while you were in the middle of presenting. So welcome to those participants. I think one might be a former parent of one of my students. I hope so. And so welcome if so. Welcome to all of you. I also wanted to mention that there was a suggestion for the 5th direction on the survey. And that individual, Calvin, I believe, Hendricks, I have already been in consultation with, and he may try to join us. Hi, Jolene. He may try to join us for a little bit this evening. He's in a training or some other type of meeting right now, but he may try to jump in. And he works with Sac City and also San Juan as a community partner too. So we may have someone else join us, but If there are no other questions at this time, we could go into the timeline, if that's okay. Or we could go into our community partners presenting, which hold on one sec. I think I'm jumping ship from the.
I think that we should go into the timeline as far.
Okay, yeah.
Because in some ways, some of the questions that families are asking when it comes to why is this process taking so long? Why are we being asked to complete a form, a 506 form, or why are we asking to complete the survey, or why are we being asked all these questions? There is a why, and I think part of that goes into the timeline, which will naturally fit into the why or the work behind this. And in some ways, I think we want to share that with that information because I think it's essential, or it's useful, and it's so yes.
Okay, awesome, perfect.
Okay,
Right.
you can pull that up for me, Edberto. Okay, awesome. You can go to the next slide. Okay, good evening, everyone. So I'm Tiffany Hunt, for those that didn't hear my introduction, and I am one of the 4 people helping to connect with our Native families and to build and develop an Indian education program within Twin Rivers. And so tonight, with the help of Jessica, we wanted to share kind of a timeline on the development of our Indian education efforts and what that looks like going forward. So the first point on our timeline was about last fall 2019. Jessica really did a lot of the footwork and the groundwork, reaching out to neighboring school districts and community members to see what resources were out in the community for our Native families. And within the neighboring school districts, what their Indian education programs look like. So Jessica started meeting with folks, and then she brought me on board, and we started meeting together with our neighboring school districts who were so collaborative and sharing information in their frameworks and just really being excited for us. So that happened fall last year and into spring 2020. And then COVID hit, which kind of paused everything at that face-to-face interactions with neighboring school districts. But even during spring, when we were all figuring out Zoom, Jessica established a meeting with a neighborhood school district. I'm still trying to get the ball rolling. So then the next point is September of this school year, when school reconvened. Jessica, Edberto, Mr. Puente, and myself, we got together, and we really were excited to keep moving the work forward and to figure out what resources were needed for our Native families, and if we were in the position to apply for the Title VI grant. So this is our little dedicated team in Twin Rivers. You met us on the last meeting, and here we are again. It's again, Edberto, Jessica, Mr. Puente, and myself. And the goal of our initial goal was to reach out to our families, to build that trust in the community, and to get the ball rolling. So in October, just a short couple of months ago, we felt the strong need to connect with our Native families. So we thought the best way to do that was to hear the needs and identify what the needs were of our Native families. So we developed this empowerment series, and we're doing it as a 3 or 4 part, can't remember, initial outreach, just to create community and give us space to hear what your wants and needs are. That way we can be better equipped to move forward with that grant. So then in November, last month, the Office of Indian Education, which is a federal department, opened up the registration for the grant. Well, excuse me, they didn't open up the they did open up the registration for districts to submit their intent. So what that means is that Twin Rivers said, yes, we will be applying for the upcoming grant cycle for the 21-22 grant application window. So we just basically said, yes, we want to be a part of that. And we are going to be waiting for more information coming from the Office of Indian Education. So then let's fast forward. Oh, here we are tonight for our second Native American Empowerment Speaker Series. And then what's on the horizon is, so the grant will be 2 parts. A big component of the grant, or a major component of the grant, is to hear from our Native families and to get their absolute input on what the program will look like and program development. And so we would like to create a parent advisory committee with our Native families and community members to help us build the program in Twin Rivers and what that will look like. We anticipate that the PAC would form shortly after the new year. We have a tentative date of February, but we want to get the ball rolling on that as soon as possible. Next slide, Roberto. Okay, so there is no dates yet for the Title VI grant application. It's like I mentioned, it's a two-part grant application. So the first part encompasses a Twin Rivers student count. And what that will mean is that every student that wants to be a part of the grant and be provide service strictly from the grant would have to submit that 506 form. And so in March, historically, we don't have dates for this upcoming application cycle, but historically that student count is due in March. And so what we will need is a strong outreach to our families to fill out that 506 form and submit it back to us so we can include every student in that grant. And funding is based off of that student count. So we really want to encompass and capture all of our families that are eligible so we can get them the maximum possible out of that grant. And then historically, again, we don't have dates yet, but June is when the part 2 of the grant application process is due. Part 2 encompasses the program development. So we will have from March to June to build our Indian education program in Twin Rivers with the help and collaboration from the PAC. And so that will be quite a process. It'll be really collaborative. We really want to address the needs of our Native families and get that solidified in the part 2 process. And so that's kind of where we are now. So yeah, that was a lot of information and I don't know how much time. Do you have any questions for me on the timeline or the grant process? Things are still kind of up in the air because COVID pushed the grant back last year. And so the dates haven't really been established going forward yet.
Tiffany, the question I have is for the grant, do you know typically how much money do these programs receive when it comes to submitting the Title VI grant?
Oh goodness, you put me on the spot there. Well, I think the minimum amount is $4,000. And then I, don't quote me, I'll type it in, I'll research that, but I'm not quite sure. I know I've seen $100,000. It really just depends on the student count and how many Native students are being served by that grant and how robust of a program you're trying to offer and all those. There's various factors on the dollar amount.
Thank you so much, Tiffany.
Oh, you're welcome.
Does anyone have any questions?
Oh, there is a question. It says, is that enough time to put together your grant proposal for a program? So the window from March to June, I think we definitely could get it done. I think, with the work and the collaboration as we are starting now, because we're kind of starting now with it, we're having these Native empowerment series with the grant in mind. And so the sooner we get that PAC going and the issue kind of right now is we don't have parameters on the grant cycle coming up this year. Because this pandemic's kind of put a wrench in things. So we don't know if they're going to extend that deadline or if they're going to push it out or if they're going to be different parameters just because things look a little bit different. But we definitely are excited to move forward and get that done.
Yes, and I want to mention too, just to piggyback off what you answered for Maria, is we have some pretty solid framework from Elk Grove And I've collaborated with San Juan, and actually I've consulted with all the nearby districts. So we have some really helpful framework that is, we're hoping that will help expedite the process for us, even though it is wonky times with COVID, because it's just kind of an unusual variable that's impacting the timing on the grant. But I would say that framework we have is really helpful. So what do you say, Tiffany?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. And I think just having the collaborations with the other districts and the support of the other districts, that we will have support getting that done. They did put, I don't want to say that they're going to push the deadline out again, but they did push the deadlines back last year with COVID. And since we're kind of at square one, to be honest, with everything going on, it might happen again. But we're going to start as soon as we can, and we've started now, so I think we'll be okay.
And then if I could just add something, I think one of the other things that this team talked about in terms of developing a program is that we want to be intentional and thoughtful. And what we mean by that is we want to create something that is long lasting beyond our tenure with the district. That can go for a long period of time. And we know that there's no good time to start a program, that we just need to start somewhere and just make sure that we really put good work behind it. And that really starts first with reaching out to the community. And we feel that this is one of our best ways to do that. And our Native student needs are not going to go away. And we need to make sure that we're prepared and we have really strong, robust programs that speak to those needs. And so again, just want to make sure that we're transparent and that we are very intentional with our work.
It looks like there was a follow-up to that. So the concern was more or less about like the pack, getting the pack together to be enough time. And I think, yeah, so February was just a tentative date. We could even start sooner. And I think the pack will move away from these meetings and it'll be its own meeting. And so I hear your concern, and we'll get it going.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now I feel like we're looking, I want the opportunity I'd like, and I don't run this show. I'm just letting you guys know. I've been trying to help get this going, but this is our show, right? Like Twin Rivers Native Families, like kind of, I guess I'm lacking the word I'm trying to find, but this isn't like something I'm running. But I would love to, I would say we're already looking at certain people that have shown extra interest and maybe, potential like recruiting, or giving the opportunity for parents that are interested to be part of the PAC. I'm hoping that that's like an equitable opportunity among all the Native parents that are interested, but I can see that there are some parents that are already showing interest in the PAC, and that's great because we're noticing that. So, because the idea is to get parents involved that, want to contribute to the PAC for our Native families. So I just want to clarify that. Anyway, so thank you for mentioning that, Maria. I appreciate you sharing that. Would it be a good time to give our community partners an opportunity to share, because we have a couple of them here this evening, and thank you guys for being here. So let's see, would Tanif like to begin? We have Tanif, and we also have Snack that have some short presentations that we're going to share to the group.
Yeah, I can start. So
Great.
So Shingle Springs Tribal Tanif Program. So we serve families on an income eligibility basis. I'm going to leave in the comments the link to shinglespringsrancheria.com website. From there, you can go to the TANF tab, and from there you can actually go to eligibility documents and go straight to an eligibility questionnaire where you can find how families can be eligible for TANF. It's what we ask them if they call in for eligibility. So I'll leave that in the comments after. But just a quick overview how TANF works is that families apply, they're accepted, they get aligned with a certain family advocate. And from there, if the participant has educational or employment needs, they're referred to either me or Sally in education or Tina in employment. Now, this is the first time in history that there have been 2 education coordinators. There's a lot of educational needs, and plus we want to do more with youth and transitional age youth. And so Sally's taking on more the participants who are need their GED or high school diploma, and a lot with the youth. However, we're going to be overlapping with stuff, but primarily Sally's going to get like youth referrals, but we'll both be collaborating on a lot of projects and events. And then I'll be dealing with like more higher education vocational school. So services we offer, if the parent is still eligible to receive the grant, so they have 60 months lifetime that the parent is on the grant, and they can receive, that's when they can receive their own education money for services that I process supportive services for. And the youth are always eligible for, as long as they're on the grant, they have something called the Child Development Fund that they actually get $1,500 a year that they can use toward sports, music, if they need additional tutoring. So one little thing is kind of at this point, the thing we've been able to find for Twin Rivers is just passing a supportive service to get like private tutoring for them, because it's been difficult to find anything in the district. So let's see. I don't know, that's kind of just a quick overview. Does anyone have any questions? I mean, I know I left a lot out, but there's a lot of facets to TANF.
Did you say it was 60 months, 60?
60 months lifetime, yeah.
Okay.
So 5 years, right? And that's also, we get state transfers. And so that's total months that they've been on the state too. So if they transfer from CalWorks, that's combined. So it can only be 60 months like lifetime.
Got it. Thank you.
But the child can stay on and be eligible for services until they're 18 or graduate high school. Yeah.
And the child is $1,500 a year. And is that age dependent, or like can a toddler receive that amount, or does that vary?
I don't think there's a school age component. I don't believe so. Like definitely, like, so we do the youth grade incentive. So obviously that's going to be kindergarten above to get that youth good grade incentive. So they can get anywhere from $150 to $200 every, like twice a year for basically a C average or up. So the Child Development Fund is, like sports, music lessons, things for the development of the child. Some kids are in gymnastics. So a lot of things right now are closed down. So I think a lot of people aren't really using those services because there's not a lot to use them on. But people have been creative, I mean, they've been creative to find ways to explore right now, verbal things and stuff. But
super helpful, Summer. Thank you for doing a nice job presenting what TANF has to offer. Some of the things that TANF has to offer. If you have anything that you wanted to drop, like Heriberto said in the chat, you are more than welcome to. Or if you have any graphics or anything that you wanted us to feature at all for the group, we're more than happy to share that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, and just one more little thing is that a whole family can be benefited if they have one Native child. So if there's one Native child in the home, the non-Native mom or dad can still receive services, even if the Native parent isn't in the picture. So that's one thing. And the other siblings in the home who may be non-Native, it's just, they're benefited through the Native child in the family. Just so that's clear too. Yeah. So that they're not getting like partially funded somewhere else. I think it is, I mean, I don't know how all that really works, but that's, that could be something that could be easily, just like assumed that everyone has to be Native, but that's not true.
It's good to know. It's good to know, especially because.
Oh, and one more thing.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, they come out of different, they come out of different the funding from the federal TANF versus the California state subsidy. So it's different batches of money. But yeah, go ahead, Summer. Say what you were going to say. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Sally, if you wanted to share briefly just that she basically targeted all the families we have in Twin Rivers, and she sent out I don't know if you want to share real fast what you sent out.
So I sent out your guys' flyer of all of the series that you're doing with just a little blurb intro letter that says we're really excited for Indian Ed to come to the district, as well as 506 form and ROI, which is release of information form. And I'm starting to get some of those back and compiling a file. So once you guys have designated a certain person that those should be emailed to, the release information is great because then I can give their names and their contact information to you guys, and you can reach out to them. And some of those parents may want to be on the parent advisory committee or be actively involved.
Great.
How many did you send out, do you think? About
there
how
was
many
25 different families that are our participants. And some families have 1 or 2 children, some had 4 or 5 in the district. So it just varied. And then I can also attach or send out more of these surveys or additional information that you guys have to target those families.
Great. Thank you for doing that and that update. That's great. One of my families actually contacted me and they had texted me a picture of the letter, and they were just really excited. There's just like a lot of excitement. And so thank you guys so much. Appreciate you being here and providing the overview of the program and some of the details on, how it, what the coverage, how it applies to the Native, family members. And are there any questions at this time? I think we had one that I don't know if it was addressed, and I want to say maybe Summer asked it, and it was about how many students Twin Rivers served. I don't know that off the top of my head. Do you by chance know, Herberto or Rudy or Tiffany?
Well, so the first thing, I think this gets a little bit back to maybe some of what Sally was talking about. If we were to go into our student information system, we have approximately about 1,000 different students who parents say that they identify as a Native student. We know that there's much more to that than a parent who just serves out, completes out a survey. There's some other qualifying things that need to occur in order to say that a student falls into a certain category. And so what I would tell you is that we have a potential to survey a lot more families than we have ever in the past. And so that identify, so that part of that too is finding out who do we need to reach out to within that group of 1,000 so that we can offer the support. Because what we also know is that there are some local programs that not only do they serve the students that have completed the form, but they also serve students who identify as Native in their services. So we also want to make sure that we're able to provide those students too, who maybe they don't necessarily qualify under the federal standard, but they still identify. And so again, that number we think is quite large. We just have to do a better job of identifying it. And again, I apologize for being vague with that. I just don't want to give you a number that I don't know at this point until we start surveying it more. Hopefully that's helpful. Tiffany, did I capture that about right?
Yeah, no, you totally did. You did.
Mm-hmm. And then I don't know, Sally, are there things that we can do on the survey form with regards to reaching out to those families?
Is the survey just digital? Like a link that they can do?
Yes.
From what I understand, yes.
Okay. I have most of the participants an email that I can email them the link and, encourage them to submit something within that. Some families aren't so email, tech savvy. And so even just a hard copy would be great. But I could click on the link and look through it and see if, I could just kind of print it and mail it out to them. But any other information you want me to send their way, I'm completely willing to.
Thank you, Sally. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
Thank you, Sally, and thank you, Rudy, explaining that about the numbers.
Yeah, and I was just going to say too, kind of just to piggyback on what Rudy said, there will be some of our Native students who come from tribes that aren't federally recognized, and so we do want to honor them as well and support them. So just throwing that out there as well.
Yes, absolutely. If there are no more questions right now, we have one other community partner that wanted to present that I'm aware of. So Danielle, would you like to have the opportunity now? And Danielle is from SNAP.
Hi, Jessica. I'm going to try to share my screen.
Okay.
I was having some mic issues, so I'm trying not to use my computer. I called in. Let me see if, would I be able to share my screen?
I think so. Let me see. Herberto, do you know how to?
Well, when you call in, it's a little tricky. You can screen share off of your, the Danielle Allen, but not off the phone number, I guess you could say.
Are you at a computer if you want to shoot something?
Yeah.
To me real quick, or Herberto, I can share it for you, or yeah, if that's
So she could screen share now off of Danielle Allen, not the phone number, I guess you could say.
okay.
Okay, I think I got it to work.
It's working.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, perfect. All right, let me get this going. So yeah, my name is Danielle Allen. I'm the Outreach and Engagement Coordinator for the Sacramento Native American Health Center. Tonight, I'm just gonna give you guys a really, I'm not gonna try to eat up a lot of your time, but I'm gonna go over briefly just who we are at SNAC and the services that we offer. So we are located on, oh, why did it do that? Come on now. Here we go. So we're located at 2020 J Street, right on the corner of 21st and J. We are a nonprofit, federally qualified health center. We're located right in the heart of Midtown Sacramento. At SNAC, our commitment is to continue to share the legacy of a healthy American Indian or Alaskan Native community. We're based on cultural values delivered through traditional, innovative, and accessible patient-centered health home. We have 18 primary care exam rooms in our medical facility, 14 dental chairs, and then we also offer lab services. As I said before, the Sacramento Native American Health Center is a nonprofit, federally qualified health center, though our roots did start as just an urban Indian health center. At SNAC, we use the lingo that we're a patient-centered health home. So what that means is adults and children can access medical, dental, behavioral, vision, specialty, and cultural services all in one location. We really try to help our patients find a balance as we move forward through their health goals together. So we try to take care of the entire human being. Though we are an urban Indian health center, we do serve anyone from any race, ethnic, or religious background. We are open to all, we welcome all, and we embrace everyone. We offer a variety of insurances that we accept. I can get you more information on that, and I'll go ahead and link all of my information at the end. So to begin, before we could see you as a patient at SNAC, you would have to contact our member services. One thing that's unique about our facility is our member services department is actually able to help you enroll if you are not enrolled in any healthcare plan. So we have people on site available to help you sign up for Medi-Cal, Medicare, any type of insurance problems. we have people available to help you with those services. Not a lot of people know that we offer that. Our medical department focuses on treating the whole person. We really tailor each patient's particular needs with the best therapy available. We specialize in diagnosis and evaluation of both acute and chronic illnesses, and prevention is really the central focus of our treatment. Everything from immunizations to cancer screenings really help our patients take a step forward in their own lives to maintain a healthy lifestyle. I have a lot of our services listed here, which includes adult medicine, reproductive health, family planning, traditional medicine. I'll go more into that in a few slides. We offer pediatrics, transgender hormone therapy, hepatitis C treatment, psychiatry, Suboxone treatment programs, optometry, and then there's a few that are not listed here. We offer weight management, podiatry, chiropractic care, family planning, smoking cessation, sexually transmitted infection testing, and vaccinations. And this kind of breaks down our family planning services. So I myself am our Title X coordinator. Starting in February, we're going to be leading classes on sexual reproductive health, catered more towards our youth and our teens, but anyone is welcome to attend. It's offered in partnership with Essential Access Health, so that will be me. So if you follow us on social, we'll start kicking those classes out in February. We do offer vision. Right now, we do not have an optometrist, but we are doing our very best to refer people out. Our dental, sorry about that. Our dental services focus on oral health treatment and disease prevention. We understand going to the dentist can sometimes be intimidating, but we try to provide a safe and caring environment. And we welcome all members of families, including those with special needs. We really try to be accommodating. And then our behavioral health department. So they've developed a model program that combines mental health and substance abuse counseling with traditional healing practices for Native American families. Our program is based on traditional Native American values and is sensitive to the physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual needs of our members and patients. We firmly believe that at SNAC, you need to care for every aspect of health for true wellness. And so we try to incorporate as much of the traditional practices as we can in all of the services that we offer. Our community health department has really started expanding. We actually do offer youth and family initiatives. Our youth initiatives team works to reduce mental health stigma, prevent suicide and substance abuse, and increase help behaviors and access to mental health support. All of the activities that they plan and hold are youth-centered and family-driven. We are actually still currently looking for some youth ambassadors. So we have a group of 30 youth that we work with, and they really lead the campaigns that we are presenting. They do a lot of the work on them to just promote good mental health practices. So we try to build that up in the youth that we work with, but we also really offer them a voice. We like them to be the driving force behind this program. If anyone is interested in that, again, I'll put my information in the chat box and I can connect you with the people that could, that are putting on that process, doing the interviews and the applications and everything. One thing that is unique about SNAC is our Healing Ways program. We offer traditional medicine as part of our medical program. Sage Lapina is a clinical herbalist and ethnobotanist. She specializes in Native American and Western herbal traditions, and she's been doing it for over 25 years. As a certified medical herbalist, she uses plants and herbal medicine to improve patient health, and we are absolutely just thrilled to have her a part of our team. We are so grateful for the work that she does. Our patients love her. We at SNAC love her, and we could just, there's so much I could say about Sage, but truly she is something to marvel. We do offer a lot of classes as well. Many offered through our behavioral health department, but we also offer some through our medical, our diabetes program, and a lot of our physical wellness classes are currently being offered over Zoom. And again, if you would like more information on those, when I enter my information in the chat box, feel free to email me, call me, whatever you need. I would really like to be that person that can connect you with those services. So as I said before, our commitment is to continue and share the legacy of a healthy American Indian Alaskan Native based on community values, cultural values, and we really try to focus on our patients' entire wealth. And yeah, I'm going to keep it short because I know it's getting late. If there's anything, let me end this. Any questions? Oh, goodness. If there are any questions or just concerns or anything that I could possibly be of service to you all for, feel free to go ahead and reach out. I'm going to put my information in the chat box right now.
Thank you so much, Danielle. That was such a rich, valuable presentation. And we'd love for you to share it if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, of course.
Does anyone have any questions about that? What SNAC is offering to our community for our Native students and families?
I just have a comment. I've had the pleasure of, so this is Tiffany Hunt from Twin Rivers. I've had the pleasure of working with SNAC on some individual students. And I just want to say how amazing the program is and how welcoming it was. And I always rave about SNAC because I've visited the facilities too. And it's just a phenomenal little gem in Midtown. And so I really appreciate you. Actually, it's a large gem. I just appreciate all the things that you do for the community and just like you said, for everybody else. You really welcome everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much. I actually live in Placer County, and so I go to Chapa Day, which is kind of like SNAC. It's not exactly the same, but it's a kind of a similar offering in Placer County. So I'm not as familiar with SNAC, and it's great to be able to learn a little bit more about the program. So if there are no questions, let me look in the chat just to kind of see if there's any questions here. Okay, we got some feedback about SNAC, so that's great. Jolene says SNAC is so amazing, especially for youth, and she highly advises anyone to reach out to them. Jolene, would you mind, if you're comfortable, would you mind sharing like where you worked? My former parents. So please welcome Jolene.
Hi, Queen. Now Jolene McCovey. Shrega met with Metrakwish to Sacramento. Hello, everybody. My name is Jolene. I'm Yurok from the village of Shregon, but I currently live in the Sacramento area. I have two students in the Twin Rivers district, one in 6th grade and one in 7th. So the potential for building this is so valuable and so important and exciting for me. What I do in the Sacramento area is I am a 1st grade teacher at a private school for Native American students. It's a very unique setting. So thankful for the work I do there. I also sit on the school's culture committee. So on a daily basis, I'm reviewing curriculum for bias and decolonizing education. So that's what I do every day. And so I'm super excited for this project and to be helpful in any way that's possible.
Thank you so much, Jolene. Appreciate your enthusiasm and your willingness to share on the spot. and just you coming. Jolene knows I was working on this effort a couple years ago, trying to track down 506 forms on my own, like not getting so far, but we've been working on it. We're getting there. So anyways, thank you. And thank you for offering your help. We'll probably definitely be reaching out to you. And thank you so much, Danielle. I just want to thank you again for that awesome presentation. Heriberto, if I'm not mistaken, would this be an opportunity kind of recap and maybe share what some of our intentions are just for our next meeting? And then I was going to suggest if there's anyone that wanted to maybe do a small closing prayer, you're more than welcome. I solicit someone who might be interested. I have something very small that I can also do, but I'd love for someone.
If you don't mind, I'd still like to share my news.
Oh my gosh, Gary, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for keeping me on track. Gary, thank you. And you know, your curriculum is so important. So, so please go ahead.
Okay. Well, just a quick reminder, when Jessica's talking about my curriculum, it's the Lands of Our Ancestors series of historical novels that I wrote and developed with accompanying teacher guides for use in 4th grade California classrooms to teach a Native American perspective on California history. And so what I'd like to do is last February, the Ethnic Studies Committee in San Diego Unified School District asked for a set of the materials, the books and the guides. They reviewed and evaluated them and ended up approving them for use in the San Diego schools right before the pandemic hit in February. So just kind of kept the ball rolling and communicating. And last week, they approved the purchase of 10 classroom sets of all 3 books and 10 sets of the teacher's guides, which turns out to be about 1,000 books for use that they're going to put in their libraries so that teachers can check those out and use them so the whole classroom has a set of the books to follow along and teach that. And so that's really, I'm really excited about it. It's, I've got about 50 schools and agencies around the state who've started using the curriculum, the books, and I get such wonderful feedback from both teachers and students that are using them. And these are certainly beneficial for Native students, but the goal is so that all students in 4th grade learn this California history from the other side, from a different perspective. And there's a lot, because of the changes in the history, social science framework, a lot of need for this. So what I'd like to do is offer to Trinity a complimentary set to the appropriate person or office to take a look at these and see if it's something that the school district would like to think about offering as an alternative. So if somebody wouldn't mind giving me a name or an email address or someone, and I would like to offer that. And also I'm going to enter in the timeline, I've got a new website so that anybody can go on there and look at the books, the teacher guides, see teacher endorsements and reviews, and student reactions, all on this same little website we've got. So I'm going to put that for you to take a look at if you want to. It's right there.
Is that the name of the curriculum, Gary? Lands of Our Ancestors?
Yes, Lands of Our Ancestors, plural, Lands of Our Ancestors. Books and teacher guides. And like I say, like for example, you guys are getting an Indian education program together. Well, the San Bernardino City School District has a very well-developed large Indian education program. And because of some budget leftovers that they invested in the entire set so that every fourth grade classroom in the entire San Bernardino School District has access to the books and the guides. And so what they're doing is trying to help teachers and students understand there's more than one way to look at California history and what happened. And it needs to be more sensitive and culturally aware of this other view. So anyway, that's my news, and thanks for letting me share that with you. I'm going to enter my email address. If anybody is interested in getting more information, can't talk and type at the same time. I don't know why.
Thank you so much, Gary.
Or if you want to get my resource catalog of other books and DVDs, films. I did 2 films, one called Telling the Truth About California Missions and another one called Hearing the Truth About Historical Trauma. Both are excellent for teacher orientation, teacher sensitivity training, and parents. The mission one is okay for fourth graders, but the historical trauma is a little heavy for elementary students. Anyway, that's me and that's my stuff. So
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I really appreciate you making sure that I didn't forget you, because I actually was just kind of looking at my clock here, and when I saw it, I got a
yeah, it's time to wrap. Yeah.
I got a little ding that was 7, and I'm like, and so I really appreciate it because it's so important. And also, you know, to make just this effort is huge, and it's a big effort to get the you know, accurate representation of what truly happened in our history, for our students to, you know, be able to be exposed to in our statewide curriculum. It's very important. So thank you, Gary. I really appreciate it. And I did see that you put your information in the chat. And I also wanted to let you know that you have already got our emails, and that would be me and Tiffany and Rudy and Harry Berto. So those are the people that we are the people that you'll be working with on this effort. And so you have that, and we'll give you, we can share our phone numbers with you too. No problem.
Yeah, that's great.
So I'm trying to be thoughtful of the time here. I know that we're all probably have things to do, although I'm enjoying this meeting very much so. So it's been very productive. I was going to do a quick recap. Are there any questions at this point? Got a couple different visitors, and I welcome you. Just making sure that we have all of our questions answered. And so real quick, just to recap, we have our next empowerment meeting on the 3rd of February, I think, actually the 3rd. Okay, so the 3rd. And so between now and then, we are going to continue our efforts here as far as our team at Twin Rivers on, you know, working towards, you know, the items on our timeline as far as working towards the grant, being on hold for, you know, waiting for the federal government to give us some guidance on how the grant's going to, I guess, evolve with COVID, the COVID factor. We're also going to continue exploring on our end about the partnership that was referenced last meeting with Elk Grove Unified to expedite bringing some of those cultural offerings to our students in Twin Rivers while we get our program going. I was hoping to have some information for you guys tonight on that, but I don't, I'm sorry, but it is in the works, I promise. And so we're gonna still be working on that. I would love to see in a short period of time, like some links to some of the offerings from Elk Grove broadcast on our Twin Rivers Native Ed page, so families can start taking advantage, Twin Rivers Native families can start taking advantage of maybe some existing cultural opportunities or offerings that they have in Elk Grove. And then what am I forgetting here, Roberto? What else am I forgetting, Tiffany? I think I'm forgetting something, but
I think you captured it all, but I think before we wrap this meeting up, that we kind of wanted to see if there was anybody who wanted to shoot some ideas for our February meeting, if there was something that we are missing or something that you really wanted to talk about or collaborate on. If anybody had any ideas, you can put them in the chat box or just say them out loud.
Hi, real quick, this is Tona. Will outreach look different for our families? I know that a lot of our families don't check their email regularly and they don't have full access to all that. And so what will outreach look like in that sense? Will there be phone calls made out to them? And
For the
so
next
it could also
meeting,
be an even playing field for all the families for this parent group as well, because I know there's a lot of Native families that are not on this call and have not been on these calls.
sure. So so outreach for the next meeting on February 3rd.
And
Yeah,
also for the
Go
parent committee, and also for the parent committee as well.
Yeah, that, you know what, and Edberto, I don't know if we're doing the robocalls. I don't know if those are going out, but I know there's so there's email notification, but we definitely can look into doing the phone calls and even the text messaging.
I'm interested in helping with a phone tree because I just feel like a robocall is really impersonal for some of our families, and it might be better to. So if anybody's interested in organizing something like that, I would be happy to commit some hours to reaching out to families.
So suggesting a live person and not just a recording.
Like a phone tree. And I think that's a great idea. Thank you, Tona, for mentioning that. And that's a factor too, because with the digital divide, and we know that. I work at the CTA. I am kind of higher up at the CTA. So I do a considerable amount of cold calling for different propositions and different efforts. And so I don't mind straight up calling people. But I am very grateful for Maria. If you're willing to step up and maybe help take some of that on, we can look at creating a phone tree or something of that nature.
And then also with that, are we going to look into our own family databases here in the North area to start some of the outreach program for the different programs that we're going to bring on? So say the cultural aspect, the art aspect. We have a lot of our families that have been doing this for generations here in the North area. And so to tap into our resources here prior to us going out and paying others to do what our families have been doing for the past 3-4 generations here in the North Sacramento area.
Absolutely. And I think that's so critical. I loved what you stated at the last meeting about kind of our homegrown families, because I'm actually from Grant too. So I grew up right in North Highland. So that's my neighborhood. And if you could be, Tonya, a resource, because I do think that trying to recruit our own local, resources is important. But if you could be a resource and maybe help bridge us to some of those, that would be helpful, because I do want to try to work on the effort. That is important. So, and that's a great idea. Thank you for suggesting it.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what we're looking for. Oh, go ahead.
No, we'll be in touch because also on behalf of the Native American Resource Center, we have the executive director, Jesus Valle here. And so just for us to also be able to touch base about our partnership with Twin Rivers as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yes, we have no objection to that, Tonya. That's what we were looking for. And we were hoping that doing these series in the evening would engage families. And I get what you're saying, it's not accessible to everybody, but any input and guidance and collaboration to engage our Native families, that's exactly what we want.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I know one of our main families out here in the north there, they had an elder pass away, one of their last elders. So the Adams family there should have been a lot more people on here, but they just couldn't make it.
Yes, and that's great feedback. I mean, it just kind of gets my wheels even turning, because I've been trying to reach out to different resources as far as just making connections on potentials who could be, for instance, I mentioned the Fifth Direction for, people that could be resources that are already kind of servicing in our community. But I didn't even think about whether or not that individual was kind of grown from our community. So that's, I really appreciate that input. And as I said earlier, like, this is not my like meeting, you know what I mean? Like, and I clarified this last time, is my son doesn't even go to Twin Rivers. So I've tried to be instrumental in getting this up and going, but I need help. Like, we need help to do this, right? Because we want to do it right. We want to do this right for our Native kids in Twin Rivers, and just for our Native kids and our Native people and families. So please insert and contribute, because we appreciate it. And it's going to help make this program hopefully one of the best in this destination district, right? We want to try. So.
And there was a question about a hub for the Indian education program meetings and events. Yes, it's, like you kind of mentioned, we don't know what in-person looks like. A lot of us can't even go on campuses right now, and there's the whole COVID testing and screening and what have you. But once we, I mean, the district always is kind of central to both halves of the districts, but we can also break it up and we can rotate. So we're in each other's communities. And that's something that the PAC will really drive. You know, we want to hear from them where they want to meet, or what they're most comfortable, or safety, or what have you. But yes, we will definitely, as soon as we can meet face to face, we'll have a hub. And it, you know, the best thing might be to rotate. So we're not always in the Del Paso area. We're not always in the Highlands area. That's really a conversation that we'll have with our Native families on what they prefer. I would imagine. I'm just throwing that out there.
No, I completely agree. I think Stanford Settlement and Gardenland, you know, we have the Manors, we have the Flats. You know, there's a lot of different possibilities here in the neighborhood of the families that have been in our area. So
yeah, community centers, Robertson Center. I mean, we have so many partnerships across the district that I think that we can just kind of immerse ourselves in it all.
Absolutely. And Summer, just so you know that I'm willing to do it just right now because it's wonky with COVID, but I'm willing to be like run things or do whatever. I know that's not, I mean, I'm just saying, because I'm willing to do whatever legwork. I'm doing this all on a volunteer effort. So I'm actually been volunteering my time for this project, and that's what I want to do. And so I don't mind volunteering more because, because we need it. We're all a team here. So let's see here.
I think those are most of the questions. Did we have any insight for February 13th? Anything or any ideas? Or if not, no worries. You can always email Jessica, Rudy, Edberto, or myself at a later date if something comes to mind, or if you talk to some of the families that weren't able to make it today and they have some ideas, you can share them with us anytime before the February 3rd date. We just want to make these meetings intentional and relevant, and address and identify what your needs are.
Is the February 3rd date the next empowerment meeting?
Yes.
Okay. I was gonna call all the participants that I mailed the information to, because like Maria had said, just that phone personal contact is huge. Previous to TANF, I was the Indian Education Liaison for Foothill Indian Ed in Amador County. And I could send out 1,000 letters and 506 forms and everything. But as soon as I made that personal phone call and contact of, hey, can you fill out that 506 form? This is where our funding comes from, you know, and explain it to them. I got like 90% of them back. But before I made that phone call, I got nothing. And so I'm willing to make that phone call to all of our participants. Just let me know, you know, do you want them to attend the next February meeting? Do you want them to reach out to you before, or what?
Awesome. Thank you so much. That'd be great.
That'd be great, Sally. And I'll work with you on kind of some of those minor details, but that would be great to help to recruit more of our families, especially since you have, like, you know, what'd you say, upwards of 25 or more. So
could we put together something to, like Tona said, there's families that want to be involved with the PAC, that would kind of encourage like a flyer or something, just because I feel like parents are hesitant, especially from marginalized communities, to become engaged with the district. So if they could see the benefits that they're bringing to the table when they participate in these things, it might encourage them more to become involved and not just feel like I'm being asked to come attend a meeting and they're not even going to listen to me, or I'm just going to sit there kind of thing. So I think it would be great to just show them the benefits of participation.
Yes, I mean, absolutely. I think that's a great idea. And I'm wondering if I'm hearing you right, were you suggesting maybe like almost like maybe a family kind of initiated flyer or something, or maybe a kind of like a flyer that maybe is made by the participants or someone that kind of makes like their own version of the flyer that is a little more.
You could do that. I could try to like put something together and email it to Heriberto because I have his email. I'm trying to think of ways to engage more families and get them excited. Another thing, I usually work as a receptionist, but another thing with the phone tree, if we wanted to try, if it would be beneficial to remind participants a couple days before, hey, don't forget about that. You know, you could use the robocall maybe for that, to just remind people to be there. And once you've made that initial personal contact.
Yes, good idea. Absolutely. And I hear what you're saying too about just about the reception of receiving an actual personal call versus an email or just something that's more automated. I absolutely hear what you're saying. And also to, include more of the information on the relevance of participating, like why are they participating? What's the benefit of participating? So we can absolutely look at what we have that we've been sending to families. And I think maybe even we can dialogue on a potential script because like I said, I don't mind calling families and trying to recruit. And then if you don't mind, Maria, if you can email, like you said, Heriberto, and then we can work with you on, maybe some of the support that you're offering, that'd be great. So.
Hey, Jessica, I had a question.
Yes, Danielle, please.
So I wanted to know, besides the survey, is there any other like one-on-one way you're reaching out to the families who participate in these? Like maybe like a one-on-one Zoom appointment or even just a scheduled phone call? Like, I feel like a lot of times in this work, we get lost in the idealism of it all. And I don't want the voices and the families and the children who are the power behind this whole movement to get lost in all of that idealism.
Yes. Yeah, good point. I'm going to let Heriberto talk about the communication platforms because he handles more of that, but there are a couple that we're using. But I will clarify that we did not do like actual phone calling here. So this is a great idea. So thank you guys, but please, Heriberto.
What I would say is obviously the way that the district has been communicating is sending messages via our communication app, via text, via email, which in some ways I know that it's sort of informal, not a human voice as far as the other line. And part of that obviously is a challenge when, how do you go as far as reaching out to potentially over 1,000 students and phone numbers. And part of that is obviously creating a plan and engaging and reaching out to families. And in some ways, as far as, notifying them about the 506 grant, about the online needs assessment, about these meetings, about, especially just doing the buy-in. And I know that's something that we are missing as far as, in our approach when it comes to engagement. And it's something that we definitely acknowledge the fact that we haven't done that. And in some ways, sort of as, Tona and Danielle and Summer and Sally have mentioned, the fact that, that human interaction of a voice, of, having somebody on the other line, especially during these times with Zoom and during distance learning and with COVID, people appreciate that, even if it's a letter or an invitation. I think those are things that we have to acknowledge and do. And those are things that we will definitely work on as far as when we go on to our next meeting as well.
Absolutely. We're hearing you. We're hearing you. And there's a couple different platforms that you use, right? You use the Parent Square, the Aries, like a couple different ways that and then there's a Facebook for Twin Rivers. So we try to get the word out, but I'm definitely taking away the fact that some actual phone calls I think will be a very useful tool for that communication piece. So thank you guys for the suggestions. Just trying to check on the time here, and I have nothing else going on tonight, but I'm just trying to be thoughtful for you guys. This is like, I'm so thrilled about all this, so I could just be like, but I want to be thoughtful about everyone's time. And I want to just circle back to the, we take copious notes about all this, all the meetings and all the chat and everything. So we'll percolate over everything, and we'll, we're going to continue working on this effort. But I want to roll back to the opportunity. If anyone wants to provide a closing prayer, you're more than welcome. I would love for someone to volunteer if anyone is interested. If not, I totally understand. I have something very, very tiny that I was going to share, very minor, but you know, really just wanting to thank everyone for coming and participating. It looks like Gary has exited, but you know, really appreciate his contribution. You, Danielle, Sally, Summer, Tonya, Maria, Jolene, smaller group tonight, but still very productive meeting. And we are recording these. Heriberto, clarify, are they available for the community to watch later, or is it just for our records?
Yes, I mean, families have received this via email as a link. It's on YouTube. Obviously, so the reason is to share it with all so that they're not able to be there. It's a way of doing information as well.
Okay, just wondering if it was available for any who couldn't make it. So, but if there are no volunteers to do a small closing prayer, I have just something real small I was going to share. It's just something from my my Cherokee heritage. So, you know, just grateful we were all able to come together tonight. And this is just a Cherokee prayer blessing. So, may the warm winds of heaven blow softly upon your house. May the Great Spirit bless all who enter there. May your moccasins make happy tracks in many snows. And may the rainbow always touch your shoulder. Cherokee prayer blessing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you. So thank you all for joining tonight. And if there are no more questions or input, we will close the meeting, and we look forward to our February 3rd next empowerment meeting.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wada to everyone. Cherokee